Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming and joining us, Susan and I. I'm going to speak a little bit more slowly because I understand that there's a slight delay. So I will try to speak slowly, which is out of the norm for me, but I'll do my best. Welcome. And so we're going to just do 8 stretches that, when done regularly, will help you improve your posture and will help you breathe better. And will help you feel better, because when you breathe better, you feel better, you're more energized, you're getting more oxygen into your body. When we're sitting in our normal seated pattern, like if you do a lot of sitting, for example, a lot of us, we have a little bit of a slouch going on. We don't have quite the length in our spine and along the torso that is beneficial of proper breathing. So I'm going to help you just give you some stretches. Now, if you go to a gym class or do yoga, that's awesome. The stretches I'm going to offer are really things that are intended to, you can do them anytime, of course, but something that you can do periodically throughout the day. Some people opt for the cigarette break. You take your break and do your stretches. So it's a much healthier way. So anyway, just 3 things that I would like you to keep in mind when you're doing this today and then going forward any other day. One is your breathing. Now, we don't really have time to get into the deep abdominal breathing, but your breathing is really, it's number 1. You should start with your breath and finish with your breath. When you're moving throughout the stretches, try to just be conscious of your breathing. When you're inhaling, when you're opening up your body and stretching it and really increasing space in your body, that ideally is when you take your in-breath, when you inhale. When you close the body or bring your arms down or bring everything back into the center, that's generally when you exhale. You don't have to worry if you're doing it right. The biggest thing is to try and do some breathing. If you can, try to do some deep abdominal breathing. So that's really important. Start and end always with the breath. Secondly, be aware of what you're doing. It's very easy sometimes, especially with stretching, because it's slow and it's safe. Try to be aware of what you're feeling in your body. So instead of checking out and just going through the motions, try to just tune in and figure out, like, what's my body telling me it needs today? Oh, wow, my right hip is a little bit tighter. It doesn't want to move as quickly. I feel like I should hang out here a little bit longer. So when you bring your awareness to what you're doing in anything, but particularly I'm going to refer to this to stretching. When you bring your full awareness to what you're doing, you allow an opportunity to really sense what your body's asking for. And that's really what it's all about. It's, changing and improving patterns in your body to just help in your overall daily life activities. So breathing's number 1. Bringing awareness to the movements is number 2. And then the third thing is consistency. Overall, without me talking, these stretches would probably take you, the entire 8 stretches would take you probably about 15 minutes, give or take, depending on how many times you repeat a certain movement or how long you hold it. But the whole thing would take about 15 minutes. If you don't have 15 minutes, it's fine. What you could do is do stretches 1, 3, 5, and 7 on one day, and then stretches 2, 4, 6, and 8 the next day, and then alternate like that. So you'd be doing 4 stretches each day, and they would just be getting to different parts of your body, but you'd be consistent. And doing that is going to be much better than doing 15 minutes twice a day. The other thing I recommend is writing it into your schedule. If you know that you don't have a meeting between 10:30 and 11:30, maybe that somewhere in there is where you write in, okay, at 10:45, stretches. So breathing, awareness for what you're doing, just bringing your attention to what you're feeling in your body, and then consistency. So on that, we'll get started. So we're going to really just work on the muscles that, and the parts of the body that tend to get tight and constricted and blocked when we're doing a lot of sitting and slouching. So I'd like you to just start, whether you're sitting or standing, because you can do most of these in both positions. So I'm going to be sitting, obviously. Put your weight equally between your 2 hips if you're sitting and between your 2 feet if you're standing, and elongate your spine. So what you really want to do is try to bring your ears so that your ears align over your shoulders and your shoulders are aligned over your hips. So if you're drawing your shoulders forward, now I've got this shoulder in front of my hip. I want my shoulder to be above my hip and alongside the body. So I'm going to go ahead and elongate the spine. I ask you to do the same. Now, I may come closer to so that you can see what I'm doing a little bit better because I feel like I'm a little far, but just the whole time, even if I move, imagine that you're staying in your seat. So the first of the 8 stretches is the teacup, saucer, salad plate, dinner plate movement. And what it just does is it frees up the neck. So if your neck gets blocked from having your head forward all the time, this is a great one for that. So I'm going to move forward. You stay where you're at. So again, ears over shoulders as much as possible. Now just imagine a small teacup saucer in front of your face, and then a salad plate, slightly bigger, and then a dinner plate, or if it's easier for you to imagine, 3 different size clocks. And so what you're going to do is just imagine your nose. You're going to take your nose and you're just going to imagine an imaginary line around those plates. So we're going to do about 3 to 5 circles. We're going to start with the teacup saucer. It doesn't matter which direction you go, but just trace your nose along that imaginary teacup saucer. Take your time. You might not feel like you're doing much, and that's fine. You are moving your neck, which is better than when you've got it stationary for a long time. And after 3 to 5 turns, move to your salad plate. So you're going just a little bit bigger. Take your time. Notice the sensations in your neck. Take your time. If you feel like you're getting blocked somewhere, maybe hang out there or maybe just back off a little bit. And now go to that dinner plate. Now it might be a very large dinner plate. You might hear some cracking. I know I do. And just take your time. Make sure you're keeping your shoulders relaxed. So if you find your shoulders are tensing up, make a conscious effort to let them relax downward. And then we're going to go to the other direction. Sorry about the hair. So we're going to take the dinner plate size movement in the opposite direction. Again, let your shoulders relax. When you're doing this on your own and you don't have someone talking to you, it might give you a better opportunity to really tune into what you're feeling. Like for example, when I'm doing this, I notice behind at the top of my left shoulder blade, there's a pulling sensation that I'm aware of. And now just go to the smaller plate, go to the salad plate. Check in, make sure you're not holding your breath. And after 3 or 5 turns, or 4 in there, just go to your teacup saucer. So just a smaller movement. Let your jaw be relaxed. Let your shoulders also be relaxed. And then just return your head to center. So that is an easy one that you can do anytime. If you just do that, and even at a traffic light, you can do it. But it's great because, you know, when we're always looking forward at our computer screens, just taking that minute and a half to create some movement in the neck and in the cervical spine is really very, very good. So the next movement we're going to do, I'm going to turn forward. So you're going to stay with that long, elongated spine. Drop your shoulders down. Just notice if your shoulders have come forward and just direct them back. And so now what you're going to do is you're going to drop I'm going to drop my left ear. If you're looking right at me, it doesn't matter which side you start with, but just start with one side. Drop your ear. I'm going to go left side, so I'll refer to the left, but you might be on your right side. Left ear to left shoulder. And now I'm going to extend my right arm out. So what I'm doing is I'm really trying to bring my ear towards my shoulder without bringing my shoulder up. So I'm keeping my shoulder down. I'm extending my left arm, and then I'm going to slightly draw that arm back. So this can be very intense, and it can also, we have some nerves in here that serve the arm and the hand. And if you feel kind of a tingly sensation, just bring your hand down a little bit, or even just drop it down completely. So from here, I'm just going to slightly turn my chin towards my left shoulder and drop my chin down. Now, if you want to make this stretch a little bit more intense, you can take this right arm right here and you can pass it behind your back with the back of your hand against your left hip. So what you're gonna do here, what that's gonna do is it's gonna bring the shoulder back and then just gently guide both shoulders down. So I have my hand back here. It makes the stretch more intense. It's not something you have to do. The other option again is just to return to the arm extended and slightly back or the hand down. So we've been here for at least 30 seconds. I recommend holding each stretch for, I'd say 30 to 45 seconds. You can always repeat it. So just gently bring your head up to center. Before doing the other side, just notice, maybe take your arms up, your shoulders up rather, and notice and then drop them down. And you might notice that there's a little bit more freedom on that stretch on the side that you stretch. If you don't notice that, that's okay. Okay, so I'm going to do my right side. So I'm going to take my ear on the right side and drop it down. And already you might notice there's a difference. For me, I notice this ear does not want to go as close to the shoulder as the other side. So drop both shoulders down. And now I'm going to extend my left arm out, probably somewhere between the 90-degree and the 45-degree angle. Stick with 45 here. And then I'm just going to slightly draw that left arm back as if I wanted to reach the back of my hand toward the wall behind me. Now, if you are noticing, so make sure you're breathing, and if you're noticing any tension in the side of the neck, again, you can drop the arm down, maybe, and you're not pushing, you're just allowing the head to drop. And if you do want to go a little bit deeper into this stretch, again, take that hand, turn the palm back behind you, so thumb down, and then reach back and place the back of your hand against your right hip or against your low back. So you'd be like that. So that's another option. Now, if you'd like, you can just gently turn your chin. So I've got my right ear towards my right shoulder. I'm just going to direct my chin towards my right shoulder. I want to make sure my shoulders aren't hiking up. So just glide your shoulder blades down your spine or down your back. And breathe. You can always play with the direction you have your head tilted, just keeping your ear relatively close to your shoulder. And when you're ready to come out of this, if you've got your arm behind your back, release it, and then drop it down and bring your head up to center. Voila. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the third stretch. And if you wanna take a moment to roll your shoulders in between stretches, that's always a good thing. So the next stretch, again, making sure that you're keeping ears over shoulders, shoulders over hips as much as possible. So don't fall into this slouching pattern. Even if you're used to doing a little bit of slouching, even the act of elongating your spine will begin to strengthen those muscles. So it might not feel natural at first, but you are creating strength just by the act of elongating your spine. So you're up like that, and this time you're just gonna turn your head to the side. So what I'm gonna try and do is keep my chin parallel to the floor, and I'm gonna turn and I'm gonna look towards my right shoulder. Again, doesn't matter, you can do your left shoulder, you can do your right shoulder, you're gonna get to each side. So each person is gonna be different, obviously. So you can just think of maybe bringing your chin as if you wanted to align your chin directly over your shoulder. It's not going to go there unless you're very, very, very mobile, but usually there's some restriction that doesn't allow too much movement. So just go to your limit, relax your shoulders down, make sure the shoulders don't pull forward, and hang out there and breathe. If you can, when you breathe, don't just inflate the chest and lift the shoulders. Try to keep the shoulders relaxed and breathe towards your abdominals, into the abdomen. And if you'd like, you can drop your chin down, look towards the floor, maybe direct your gaze towards behind your shoulder. And when you come back out of this, you lift your chin and you turn your head and look forward. Same thing on the other side. Start with the ears back, the chin parallel to the floor, and then turn and look in the opposite direction. Maybe you notice your chin goes a little further on one side, or maybe you get a little bit more resistance on one side. Keeping your shoulders slightly drawn back, dropping them down. And then maybe you want to take your chin down and look
towards the floor, or maybe just look slightly back behind your opposite shoulder, or behind the shoulder on the same side of yours where your chin's turned. And again, each stretch ideally anywhere from 35 to 45 seconds. If there's a particular stretch that you feel is really good for you and is helping you, you can always repeat it. You can always hold it a little longer. I think it's actually better to do a second repetition than it is to hold it for, say, a minute, but that's up to you. And then when you're ready to come out, just lift your chin up and direct your head forward. Okay, so the next stretch I'm going to call, this is the fourth one, and this is going to be called the YWT Stretch. And for obvious reasons, you'll see. So again, start with your regular position. And then what you're going to do is you're going to bring your arms up into the shape of a Y. So you can't see my hands, but basically my hands are kind of just slightly turned forward. So the palms will be slightly turned forward. That's just going to rotate the shoulders a little bit more to get a bigger opening in your chest. So your arms are up, you're forming like a Y, you know, like YMCA. You can even sing it. I don't hear you, so. So your arms are up. Now what I'd like you to do is draw your shoulder blades down. So you don't want to shrug your shoulders up. Bring your shoulder blades down your spine. So you're creating a little bit of space between the tops of your shoulders and your ears. So drop them down. And then just from here, just very slightly draw your hands back. So you're gonna, when you do this slowly and you bring your attention to the movement's not a big movement, but the stretch is subtle but very, you'll notice it. You know, if you're tight in your chest at all, you'll notice it. You'll probably feel it in the front of the shoulder, maybe the outermost point of your pectoral muscle in the chest. And breathe. You can always close your eyes. Try to relax your jaw. Try to relax any tension in your forehead. You know, if you furrow your eyebrows together, maybe just give them a little bit of opening space here. And we're just going to slowly bring the arms down. If you want to do a couple shoulder rolls, maybe a couple going back and a couple going forward, you can do that. So that was the Y portion of this fourth stretch. The W portion means bring your arms into a W. So this one, you've got to be careful because when we start to draw the arms back, normally we get tempted to push the head forward, and you don't want to do that. So bring your arms to form a W, right? And then keep your chin back, your ears over your shoulders, and draw your shoulders back. So you're not pushing the chest forward, but you're going to feel a little bit like the chest moves forward. That's normal. And what you should be getting is a stretch a little bit, maybe a little bit lower in the pectoral area, in the chest area. And of course, maybe a little bit in the front of the shoulder as well. And make sure you're breathing. Make sure the chin doesn't drop forward. Keep your neck aligned over your spine. If you feel like after a few seconds you can draw your arms back a little further, great, but don't do it at the expense of your neck. Keep the neck back. And then on an exhalation, bring your arms down. Roll your shoulders back. Maybe roll them forward. You don't have to do that every time, but it just feels good, I find. And then, of course, we've done the Y, the W, we're going to the T. So the T is, of course, arms are straight out. Yes. My palms are down, so my thumbs are facing towards my computer. My pinky's towards the wall behind me. Same thing here. So relax your shoulders down away from your ears. Keep your ears as much as possible aligned over your shoulders, and just gently draw your pinkies of your hands back towards the wall behind you. If you don't go very far, if you feel like, wow, that's too, you know, I can only get this far, it's okay. It's not about, oh, how far can I touch my hands together? It's not that. It's about identifying where you feel the stretching sensation and breathing into it there. You will inevitably, if you do it regularly, find you'll get a little bit further, but the goal is not necessarily to get your arms as far back as possible. The goal is to create some opening to undo those holding patterns that we develop when we're with our arms in front of us. So just take your arms back, drop your shoulders a little bit down away from your ears. Take a couple deep breaths here. Notice if your chin juts forward and just gently guide it back. And on an exhalation, just bring your arms down. So here I'm going to change positions. You can roll your shoulders back and forward a couple times. So we've done the first 4, and we're moving down the body a little bit here. So we've done neck stretches. Now we're going to move on to stretching out the sides and then the hips. So we have 4 more to go. And then you're going to, so right now I'm sitting on the chair. I've got my knees and hips about hip width apart, placing weight evenly on both hips. So if you tend to lean to one side or the other, try to put that in an equal position. So you've got equal weight on both sides as much as possible. Elongate your spine, drop one hand down. So in this case, I'm going to drop my left hand down, and I'm going to inhale, and I'm going to bring my right arm straight up towards the sky, gliding my shoulder blade on my right side downward. The left shoulder, you can imagine somebody kind of taking a hold of your left wrist and just gently pulling your arm down. Or if you were holding a hand weight, you'd feel the hand being pulled down. Now, keeping my right hip anchored, I'm going to bend over towards the left side. Very important that you don't lift your hip up. You really want to keep this hip down and grounded. So here, the idea is to create an opening or a stretch on this. For me, it's my right side. So between the hip and even in between the ribs, there are muscles actually in between the ribs, and they definitely play a part in our breathing. So when you're inhaling and exhaling here, see if you can breathe into this side body. Notice the sensation of your ribs expanding. Maybe you go a little further after a couple seconds. Keep that right hip glued to the chair, or if you're standing, make sure you're keeping weight down on your foot. And I'm going to inhale and come back up. Bring the right arm down, or whichever arm you did, hand up. And now I'm going to go and inhale and bring my left arm up. So again, imagine this right shoulder, this shoulder on this side, getting pulled down. Inhale, lengthen your spine, always lengthen the spine, and then exhale. And now I'm bending towards my right side. So if you're bending to your right side, you want to keep your left hip anchored, or if you're standing, your left foot anchored. Breathing, maybe you turn a little bit, turning your chest up towards the sky, or looking just slightly underneath your left arm, or right arm if you're doing the other side. But you don't want to tilt your body forward. So make sure you're not falling into this pattern where you're bending to your side and then falling forward. Keep light, nice and long in your spine with the chest lifted. And then on an inhalation, come back up, exhale, and bring it down. Roll your shoulders back a couple times and roll your shoulders forward. Now I'm going to move my chair just slightly forward. You don't have to move. I just want to be able to show you. So we're going to do the 5th stretch, which is a spinal twist. And if you have any problems with your vertebra or your discs, if you've ever been advised not to do any twisting postures because of any problems that you have, then maybe just repeat the last movement and skip this one. If you don't have any problems, it's a really very, very healthy for the spine, but also for your digestive system, especially if you're moving your abdomen in and out. So if you're doing abdominal breathing in a twist, you're going to find that your abdominal organs, you might not feel it happening, but you'll get a massage in there, and it's very, very good for promoting elimination. So if you have any slowness in that domain, this is a great one to do, especially when you're concentrating on your deep abdominal breathing. So I've got my hips, my feet and my knees shoulder width apart. Got the back of my chair there. So what you're going to do here is elongate the spine. Inhale, I'm going to bring my left arm up, and I'm going to exhale, and I'm going to twist towards my right, and I'm going to place the back of my the back of my left hand on my right thigh, and I'm going to place my right hand on the chair behind me. So I probably should have chose the other side so I wasn't twisting away from you, but basically I'm twisting to my right side. Therefore, my left back of my hand is on the outside of my right thigh. My right hand is behind me, and I'm going to turn my shoulders towards the right. As you're doing this, be mindful of what's happening in your shoulders. Try to just bring your shoulder blades together towards your spine a little bit and drop your shoulders down. Every time you inhale, see if you can get just a little bit more length in your spine. And as I mentioned for the digestive portion, here I'm going to really exaggerate my breath, and you might be able to see in my abdomen the movement. So when I inhale, my abdomen goes out, and I exhale and I draw my belly towards my spine. And when you come out of this, just take your head towards the front, release your hands, and come back to center. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So I started with my left arm up. I'm going to inhale my right arm up. I'm going to turn my waist, my torso, my shoulders towards the left, placing the back of my right hand on my left thigh, and then my left hand behind me. So I want to make sure I'm keeping lots of length in my spine, almost as if I'm trying to reach the top of my head towards the ceiling. I'm also, at the same time, releasing my shoulders away from my ears and just gently drawing my shoulders back. Now, if you find that this stretch, this movement in your neck is not the most pleasant sensation, you can always find other movements while you're in the twist. So you can rotate your head, you can rotate the head from side to side. And then I'm going to add that deep abdominal breathing. So when I inhale, I'm going to allow my abdomen to move out. And as I exhale, I'm gently just going to pull the belly button back towards the spine. Always be aware of what you're feeling. If your body says, I might think I might benefit from holding this a little longer, well, hold it for another couple breaths. And when you come out of this, I recommend that you first turn your head forward, then release your shoulders, and then your torso. Okay, we've got 2 more to go. So the twisting is a really, really important one, but again, keep in mind, if you've got any like compressed vertebra, herniated disc, bulging disc, please check in with your doctor because that might not be the right one for you. So this time we're gonna stretch the hips, the outer hip. And when you do this next stretch, some of you might have seen it before, it's really great for people with low back pain and even without low back pain. But if you have low back pain, a lot of the times it's because the muscles in the buttocks are tight, the gluteal muscles, not always, but if you can get a little bit of equally, sorry, that's a French word, balance between the strength, because the gluteal muscles tend to be very strong, but the strength and the flexibility of your hips, it's all the better. So last 2 stretches, this is for the hips. I'm gonna keep my feet planted on the floor. I'm gonna keep my left foot actually planted on the floor, and I'm gonna take my right leg, lift it up, turn my knee out, and I'm gonna rest my ankle on my left leg. So just like that, almost like forms the number 4. If you're tight in your hips, you're going to notice your knee does this. Feel free to just put your hand under there because you never want to feel pain in your knee. So if you feel pain in your knee, definitely provide it support. You don't want to have pain. So I'm going to let my knee just do what it wants to do. You want to avoid any sagging here. So if you have your foot on the edge of your thigh and you're getting like a kind of like a U shape with the ankle, that's not good. It can weaken the muscles here. So please try to make sure that your knee, shin, ankle, and heel kind of form more or less a straight line. Inhale, straighten up. So you might already notice that this creates a stretch for you in your hip. I'm going to place my right hand on my right knee. I am not going to push down on the knee. So now I'm just going to elongate the spine. From here, if you're feeling a stretch, just hang out there, take some deep breaths. If you think that maybe, I wonder if I could get a little bit deeper in this stretch, you can bend forward. This is also one that can be done on the floor, lying on your back. But again, my intention is to give you things that you can do in an office. So you might not be comfortable lying on the floor in your office. Well, at present you probably are, but so I'm just bending forward because that feels good for me. But if that doesn't feel good for somebody, by all means, just stay upright, even supporting the knee. So I'm going to slowly come out of that. I'm going to take my hand, I'm going to support my left foot and my knee, or excuse me, my right foot and my knee, lift it up, place it back down. We're just going to do the other side. So bring your leg up, place your ankle on your knee. And again, be mindful of this. You don't want to have a sagging ankle because it'll weaken these outer ankle muscles, which can create lack of stability in your ankles, and we don't want that. So heel, ankle, shin, and knee form more or less a straight ankle. So you might notice, this is my tight side, so I notice that I'm very aware of what I'm feeling in my hip, and I'm going to place my left hand on my left knee. I'm just going to play around with the idea of bending forward, so I'm going to exhale, and I'm gently going to bring forward. But I kind of feel like, since I'm tuning into it, I'm like, you know, I think right there, I could go further. I know I can go further, but that's not the point. The point is to be aware of where you're feeling the stress or the stretch and the tension, and work with that. If I stay here and I breathe, I might notice after a few breaths that my body naturally bends forward. And I might notice that it doesn't. But the idea is to just always be aware of what you're feeling and honor what your body is telling you. And when you come up, just gently bring yourself up. We've got one more to go. So come out. This one we're going to do standing. So if you have a high back chair that's stable and doesn't roll around, or if you have a wall, that's ideal. You don't have to have one. I'm going to move this over to the side. Oh, turn it around actually. And so I have a yoga mat here. This one, you just want to do it, just be aware that you're not on a slippery floor. So if you're on a very slippery floor, maybe take your socks off, or if you have a shoe on, that's great. Okay, so I'm going to step my left foot forward, and I'm going to step my right foot back. So I'm doing a lunge here, and this knee is staying over the ankle. So not this movement. This movement's really hard on your knee joint. So make sure that your knee is ideally aligned over your ankle. This right leg, I've got my right leg behind me. That's where I'm going to get the stretch. So just holding this position here, you might feel a stretch in your hip. I want you to just direct your tailbone, your coccyx, down towards the floor. That's going to increase the stretch on that back leg in the front of the hip. And then I'm going to, so you can use a chair for balance or a wall, I'm going to bring my right arm up. So I have my right leg behind me, and I'm bringing my right arm up to just get a little bit more length in the front of the body here. So I'm breathing. I'm relaxing the jaw. If this leg's getting tired, because you are building strength in this leg, but if it's getting tired, simply straighten the leg for a moment and then come back if you can afterwards. So I'm going to go ahead and try and lift my rib cage a little bit away from my hips. So it's easy to kind of sink into this, but see if you can get a little bit of lightness and lift in your upper body, in your rib cage, and your chest, shoulders, and breathing. When I'm ready to come out of this, I'm going to drop my hand down. I'm going to straighten my left leg, and I'm just going to, you can take several steps, or you can just take one big step forward. And then we're going to do the other side. So last thing. Right foot forward, step back with your left leg, align your knee. So the center of your knee should be kind of directing towards your second and third toe, and should be, so just that's the general direction. Center of the knee is aligned over the center of the foot. Your knee should be vertical with your ankle. This leg's back with the heel lifted. You can use something for balance. So already you might feel that stretch there. This is really good also for somebody with low back pain. So I'm going to direct the tailbone down. So the difference is that movement versus that movement. Leg is straight, and now I'm going to bring my left arm up. Breathe. Drop your shoulder down a little bit and lift your rib cage and your torso just a little bit.
If you feel better just keeping your arm down, of course, you can do that. Just the lifting of the arm just creates a little bit more length here. And again, each stretch, ideally 30 to 45 seconds. If you only have 20 seconds, it's better than nothing, but try to do 30 to 45 seconds. If you get to come around for a second round, great. Coming out, you're gonna bring your arm down. I'm gonna straighten the knee, and then you can use, so you know, if you've got a chair nearby, step forward. You can take multiple steps to come forward. So those are your 8 stretches. I just want to mention, because I know that we're running out of time, but that last stretch, the last 2 actually, are really good if you've got low back low back pain, because your hips and the side of your hips, or the glutes and the front of your hips, they have muscles in them that can pull on your low back bones, basically your lumbar spine. So when you stretch the muscles in there, it takes some of that tension off and it releases that pulling sensation in your lower back. So I hope you found that useful. Thank you so much for coming today. Hope everybody's staying well, and thank you.